So,
So your tour,
your tour a couple of weeks ago showed the garden that maybe it's always twice every year. We've got a little slideshow that I'll show you some of the highlights of the garden. I'm Len. I've been a member of Cottonwood for 24 years. Cottonwood is 28 years old. It started as a grill garden on wasteland that neither the city nor the forest board wanted to develop. The soil was contaminated with heavy metals, and the city capped the Speedo ones portion with a layer of sand and clay. The forest board did not cap their portion, and soil samples there showed high concentrations of heavy metals. Gardeners started to build soil by adding organics to the sand and clay cap. I remember having to use a pickaxe to dig holes big enough to plant trees and shrubs. After 2 years, the garden gave us Oasis to garden, legalizing it. A small grant of $25,000 from the city allowed us to put in water lines for the shed, buy tools, and pay for foundation planting. We tried to reflect the neighborhood of the garden in the design of the garden, allowing space for large Asian and native gardens. Cottonwood was almost 3 acres and is fully developed. Because we had such a large space in rather a sketchy area, we could allot 2/3 of the garden to common space. The garden is the third plots, a third Asian garden, and a third native garden habitat. The large community areas are unique to Cottonwood and Strathcona gardens and cannot be found in any other community garden in the city. The other unique feature is that it was designed, planted, and maintained for 20 years by volunteers that have given the space a look and feel that cannot be found anywhere else. The large community areas give gardens and visitors an opportunity to tend fruiting and ornamental trees and shrubs and to get a taste of tree ripened fruit. There are often more people walking through the garden than there is in Strathcona Park. Any promise to relocate or recreate Cottonwood Gardens is disingenuous. The garden was developed on wasteland, a dump site. Given current land values, there is no hope that a comparable space could be found. New city guidelines on community gardens dictate that amateurs would not be given a free hand on public land. That is why all new community gardens look alike and they're of a similar size. The North Malkin option would devastate the garden. Any Malkin option would have major consequences for the garden and mean the loss of a 28-year effort by hundreds of volunteers, putting tens of thousands of hours in creating a space that is unique and a real credit to the city of Vancouver. Thank you.
Hi, I'm not sure, is this on?
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, panelists, community panel team members and visitors. My name is Beth McLaren, and I've been a member of Cottonwood since the year 2000. I see Cottonwood as an important green space on the east side. It has functioned as a park for 20+ years. Most of the neighborhood and visitors to the garden do not realize that it's not a park, but owned by the city and held as street allowance. If the park board has a veto on the Williams option, it does not have one on the North Malkin option. But we have significant public support. Our petition calling for the protection of the garden has over 15,000 signatures, most of them gathered by posting a petition on our kiosk in the middle of the garden. This is an indication of the number of people visiting the garden as a destination. We have had visitors from all over the world and have arranged tours for an international convention of garden writers and other tour groups, including 2 recent groups from South Korea who both wanted to learn from Cottonwood how it was created and how it functions, so they could take the information when they returned home. Cottonwood plays a part in many city environmental policies and aspirations. For example, the Greenest City Initiative, whose goals include access to nature, local food, tree canopy enhancement, more habitat space, fruit trees on public land, beekeeping, native and edible plants, urban orchards, and the False Creek Flats as the greenest place to work in the world. Metro Vancouver, which includes the City of Vancouver, now encourages green initiatives. At Cottonwood, we're now in our 28th year of doing just that. There's a Metro Vancouver initiative called Go Green to encourage green corridors throughout the city with habitat to support plants, insects, pollinators, and wildlife. Cottonwood and Strathcona Gardens and Trillium Park function as a green corridor from Main to Park. One day I was in Cottonwood chatting with one of our beekeepers, Bruce Little, and we noticed bees on a nearby aster plant. I saw one kind of bee. He identified 5 species on the one plant. Bruce said that there are over 10 different species of bees in the garden, but each species is seasonal, so there may only be 5 at any one time. This is another indicator of the biodiversity of the garden. Cottonwood has more tree canopy than Strathcona Park, more habitat than the park, and more biodiversity than the park, providing food and habitat for longer stretches of the year for birds, bees, and other pollinators. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Noel. Sorry, I'm a little congested and recovering from a stress-related sickness. I also feel a bit like the Lorax right now, which honestly does make me cry every time I read it. So I joined Cottonwood in 2012 after moving into the neighborhood with my daughter, Ray. We live in a co-op on the edge of Chinatown, and we've enjoyed the many benefits of digging around in the soil throughout the years. It's offered us nourishment, education, and a place within our community. The community at Cottonwood works together, we learn together, and together we enhance the diversity which the natural world has to offer. Through this collective exchange, we donate our resources to this tiny plot of land, and it provides us with a habitat unlike any other in the city. We give to the land, and the land gives back. Cottonwood is a thriving ecosystem within itself, and whatever is removed from this garden will not easily be replaced. Whether a few plots or a large section is affected, changes made here will be felt by the entire community. No plans we make for tomorrow will ever replace what exists between this plot of land and those who interact with it today. The gardeners of Cottonwood, the workers of Produce Way, and hundreds of people living in this community all thrive on what this land has to offer. We all thrive on its unique diversity, which is the result of years and years of communal exchange. Our city is developing, and the land around us is accommodating these changes. This land will endure this transformation only if there is equal exchange. Yet the changes our city demands are extreme, and what is offered in exchange is not sufficient, not for the people who are asked to live in it, and not for the land which is forced to endure it. We ask you today to consider the effects these future plans will have on our communities in regards to promoting diversity and giving back to the land from which we take. For my daughter and I, Cottonwood represents more than just a garden. It's an opportunity for us to enrich our lives. It's an opportunity which was available to us when we needed it the most, and we ask that it remains available for those who will need it in the years to come.
To present, although we did submit a letter which hopefully you all received, and it has a video about our programming. I'm just piggybacking on Cottonwood's presentation because we use the gardens and we partner with Cottonwood. So EYA, Environmental Youth Alliance, is an award-winning local charity, and for the past 30 years, since 1989, we've worked in the gardens both Strathcona and Cottonwood, but I'd also like to point out that we take our youth to Arterial and to work with Sharon Callis at our Penn Gleaners as well. So we use the gardens primarily to deliver our free flagship multi-week program called Nature Stewards, and we engage about 150 youth each year. And the youth are primarily experiencing marginalization. We have youth who are living on low incomes, youth who are experiencing disabilities, and Indigenous youth participating in our programs, many of them from the surrounding neighborhoods. And our programs are hands-on, experiential nature education programs that are designed to benefit mental health and to inspire environmental leadership and build social connections. And I'd just like to say, I know I don't have much time, but we just received a $272,000 grant to bring together Indigenous and non-Indigenous youth to develop a plant medicine garden in the east end of Cottonwood, where EY has a long-standing site called the Youth Garden. And obviously the Malkin route would completely eliminate that project. It would also eliminate a couple of other EYA-run sites, as would the Williams option. Really, I mean, Prior would decrease accessibility for our programs. Williams and Malkin would eliminate our programming and really have a significant detrimental effect on the quality of our programming by increasing pollution, increasing noise, and obviously, since we also work with Sharon Callis at Trillium, the national route would impact us there as well. So I think our main point is really that there is a shortage of green space in the Strathcona neighborhood, and youth in that neighborhood need this space. It is one of the only biodiverse, high-quality green spaces in the neighborhood, and many of these options, the Malkin and Williams options, would really contribute to increased social inequality in our city by increasing access to nature for youth in those neighborhoods. Thank you.
And then we'll do some Q&A. So please welcome Carla Frenkel.
Hello everyone, I'm Carla Frenkel, the co-president of the Strathcona Community Garden, and I just want to thank everyone for hearing all the presentations on the gardens and for being on the panel and going through this difficult process of figuring out what to do. So I'm going to talk through a little bit of history and what the garden is, and then I'm going to go through what the impacts are to the garden. So looking back in time, this site here is where the garden was. So you can see this was in 1952. Before the garden was in place, it was a pretty barren site. And over time, we've put in, so this was the beginnings of the garden. This picture is probably from the 80s. There have been countless hours of labor and work that have gone into create and sustain and build the gardens. There was a group of citizens that came together as a grassroots effort in 1985 that started the gardens, and it's through their thousands and thousands of hours that have gone to create the garden. So what is the garden today? We have a 25-year lease with the city that was renewed in 2005. The garden is pretty much three main parts. There's the plots. In this section, we have over 100 members that's families, it's seniors, it's a really diverse group of people from Strathcona and a larger part of the city. There's the orchard in the garden, and there's the wild area. And we meet once a month, the last Sunday of the month, now, and we have work parties, we have our potlucks and our meetings during that time. Every year we put in over 1,800 hours of work in maintaining just the communal areas. So that's not including the plots. There are countless hours that go into maintaining the plots. So going forward, this is some pictures from the orchard, and it's fantastic that you guys came to visit the garden. You visited in the dead of winter. I encourage everyone to come back because it's truly a really magical space, especially spring, summer, and fall. It's really an oasis in the city. So here's the garden, the orchard. This is our biennial fall festival where there's some cider pressing. The orchard consists of espalier tree areas, over 30 different varieties of fruit trees, including heritage varieties. There's an herb garden, a mushroom garden, a demonstration garden, the eco pavilion, which is open for events, and the greenhouse. Then the other area is the wild area on the edge of the garden, which is where our bee habitat with our beehives and a bee shed is located, our compost area, the rewilding area, and also our amazing seasonal pond, which we've been working with the city and trying to get it to be a year-round pond to provide habitat. And it's really the only vestige of what used to be an enormous aquatic part of the city, and just trying to have some linkage to the past and to habitat. So keep going. I have no idea who these people are. Everybody uses the garden. There's weddings, there's parties. It's an oasis in the city. EYA uses the garden, as seen here. This is also a preschool group that uses the garden, Muddy Blueprints. It's a really heavily used space. So what exactly is the garden? So it's this, just to be really clear, it's this pink area is kind of our property line, if you will, and this area is the right-of-way, which we maintain everything curb to curb. So within the right-of-way, that's part of what we take care of as well. So the impacts to the garden. Starting off the bat with prior, as probably many of you figure, a lot of people are coming from the Strathcona neighborhood and crossing, with small children, myself included, a busy arterial to go to the garden. If it's already impactful, it already has noise, it already has pollution, but if it were to be enhanced as an arterial, most of the truck traffic right now turns onto Parker and comes down Raymer. If it were to be, this access would be closed, with this option, with the underpass, there'd be some traffic going down Raymer, but a lot of it would come to Hawks. And with the overpass option, this is closed altogether. So all of the truck traffic would be coming onto Hawks, which I think there is an estimate thrown around of like a truck per minute. So that effectively makes two edges of our garden that are facing heavy traffic, noise and pollution. Other option that impacts us, this isn't working. The other option, I'm trying to go to the next slide. Can you go to the next slide, someone?
Sorry, it's not your fault. It's it's hard to get multiple things happening on the computer, but she'll Amanda will look forward for you.
Okay, move forward, please. So I'll just talk about it since I can't see it. So the next option that would impact us, is Malkin and William, kind of combined because they have the same effect on our garden. So part of our concern is that this line keeps moving around a bit. You know, there's all the different options of Malkin North, Malkin South, Malkin Central, Williams. What really is going to impact the garden is having an arterial along this side, and if it starts eating into the garden. I just saw some images on the wall as I came in that showed in the right-of-way new trees and a new path, but we need to respect there's these mature trees that are on our side of the garden, and how can a path go around them? I guess I implore the panel that the existing Malkin is what, I think that like 12 meters wide. The city said they needed 13.5 meters to have the actual road width. So can't we have, if the road were to go there, couldn't it go there and not impact the garden so much? So that's, I guess, the question I have to everyone here and the city as well. This is the south side of Malkin where it's paved. And then I'm supposed to stop, but I have mitigating things to talk about. Just national, it doesn't really impact us, so I'm not going to talk about it. And then mitigation, just keeping more beautiful bike paths, habitat, having rain gardens, and trying to deal with some of the remediating the rainwater that comes onto the site, public art, and also the noise and pollution. That's a really big concern for us. Right now we have a berm that's along Prior. Would we do a berm on Malkin? I'm not sure what the options are, but we really want to have a dialogue with the city and try to figure out how to mitigate if this is even going to be anything on the table.